Hello, everyone, and welcome to this faith chat, this devotional. We are so blessed to have you sharing this with us today, and the music that precedes it and follows it is an inspiration, yes? I've been listening around in the community, the Australia community, asking people, what would you like to hear devotional messages about? And interestingly, in two of the three different communities, in the assisted living and the independent living, people have said almost the same thing a couple of times. We'd like to hear about how we get assured of our salvation. Now, that struck me at first as a surprising answer, but then as I reflected, it seemed that in this stage of life, reassessing our relationship to God and God's kingdom is a pretty important thing. And I think that's what I was hearing. So I've looked over the New Testament and the Old Testament in my little mind and come up with a single passage that addresses that question. Interestingly, that passage is not in Jesus' teachings in the Gospels, nor is it in Paul's letters or the other writings of the New Testament. But this passage is found in the book of Psalms, the 24th Psalm, to be exact. The third verse of that 24th Psalm asks the question about our ultimacy, our salvation, this way. Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? And who shall stand in his holy place? Who shall stand forever in God's holy place? And then the psalm goes on to address three ways we can, in a sense, get our ticket on the kingdom train of God. So in this devotional and the two sessions to follow, I want to address how do we assure ourselves of a place, our place, in the kingdom of God. Today, the text is followed the question that I read, who shall stand in God's holy place now and forever, is the implication of the psalmist. The next verse suggests one of three ways that I want to suggest we might approach assuring ourselves of that salvation, that ticket on God's train. The fourth verse reads, those who have a clean hand and pure heart, and do not lift up their souls to what is false. Do not lift up their souls to what is false. Interesting. And further, do not swear deceitfully. That fourth verse describes one way to get a ticket that I think is very real. And that is, we can align our behavior to be in concert with God's will. Now, to the psalmist and any of the Old Testament prophets and voices, that notion of God's will was a pretty amorphous thing. I intentionally chose this setting today for this devotional because it's got several different backgrounds. It's got, through the window out there, you can see sort of dimly what I'm going to tell you is a beautiful green belt at the back of our Australia campus, but I bet you can't make it out because of the slatted blinds. It's kind of dim and blurred. Or you can see, well, it ain't so pretty, but do you see the back of my head reflected there in the computer screen? There's a passage in the Old Testament where Moses went up to Mount Horeb to see the Lord, and he only saw, as he received the Ten Commandments, the back of God's head. Well, there's the back of my head. Not very much instruction there. But I went to see it. And then over here on this side are a bunch of books and things, and our communion chalice and plate that is for us Christians ways of acting in a way that's in concert with God's will. This verse says, what we do with our actions, have clean hands and a pure heart. Do not lift up our souls to what is false, that is, do not speak or associate with what is false. You decide what that is in your moral compass. We all have them. Do not swear deceitfully. Jesus did a great deal in the New Testament to clarify more what those behaviors are. Do not steal, do not kill, do not lust after another man's wife, etc., etc. Jesus taught by example the behaviors of the kingdom. What I'm suggesting today is one way, and only one of three ways we'll examine to get your ticket on the kingdom train, your seat in the kingdom of God, is to do everything you can to act, behave, and be righteous in the eyes of God. That's a pretty tough order, but if you choose it, I think it's one legitimate way to pursue the ticket acquisition question. In the next session, we'll be talking about a totally different way that is compatible with Jesus' teachings as well as the Old Testament voices. I look forward to sharing that with you too. How do we get assurance of our salvation? One way is to act right and godly. Thanks for being with me today. We'll see you next time. God bless.